The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning. This is Tuesday morning, and I'm super excited to be here with you folks. So this is Divya, your host, and I want to say thank you to all of you who have got our books. Because of you, exciting news, we were able to help our 100th entrepreneur across the globe today through Kiva.org. And the best part is that not only you get value, not only we are able to impact an entrepreneur across the globe. So if you've not got your copy, please get your copy from any of our books. And if you're a professional or if you're an entrepreneur, either of our books, Expert to Influencer or The Entrepreneur's Garden, is going to be a valuable resource to you. And I invite you to take 1 hour of your time and give that without any strings attached to anyone that you like. Help people out, spread the kindness, and spread the joy. So today we have a special guest for you. Let's invite Adam Houlihan. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, Divya. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here with you today.
Well, the pleasure is mine. So usually we start out at the very beginning of your life, which is at childhood. So Adam, do you recall a moment from your childhood that stands out for you even today?
I do, Divya. My earliest childhood memory, I think I was probably maybe 2 or 3, and I remember being beside a beach, where I live. I've come full circle, lived all around different parts of Australia, and now back where I was actually born. And my dad at that time was a sign writer. But back in the day when sign writers actually wrote signs, with paint and by hand, and he was doing this sign on the side of a truck, a small truck, and I was playing in the sand with I don't know if you know what it is, but it's called a Tonka truck. It's a little toy truck. And I remember being just like the happiest, or at least in my short life at that time. But the funny part is I had an affinity with the beach my whole life. And you've probably seen my videos on LinkedIn. They're always shot on the beach. And funnily enough, it's that beach that I'm usually shooting on is the beach that my dad was at and was sign writing a truck on all that time, sort of 50 odd years ago.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I can definitely picture that beach. So I'm assuming that you live close to the beach.
I do. It's probably a 10-minute drive. So it's not like walking distance, but it's reasonably close. But where I live, there's about 10, 12 different beaches. So it's very, very close to a lot of different beaches, yeah.
Well, that's fantastic because the closest beach to me is approximately 2 hours away, and I still feel really good about it. So that's awesome that you're so close to the beach. So as you grew up, where did your interest take you?
Well, I suppose my parents, again, they were always small business owners, entrepreneurs, as we like to call ourselves these days. So I very much grew up in a family of business owners, and over the course of my childhood and up until I was sort of late teens, my parents essentially own or operated hotels or restaurants. And probably about 10 different ones across that time. So yeah, I very much grew up in one actually lived in hotels for quite a number of years, but got to see the kind of the internal workings of how a hotel kind of operates behind the scenes, and the same with the restaurants. So my mum kind of had a thing for restaurants, my dad had a thing for hotels, and I was very much immersed in both of those, which hence why when I started to decide what I was going to do for a career going forward, it was never going to be in restaurants or hotels. So I had enough of that during my early years, and I went off on a completely different tangent to that myself.
Mm-hmm. And it is really, really hard work. And whenever you see your parents do that kind of hard work, you're like, okay, I like it, I've seen it, and I want to try something different. So what was different?
So again, as I said, I always had this affinity for the water. And so my first business that I started at the age of 24 was a water ski and a snow ski retail store. Prior to that, I'd been working as a water ski instructor and working at some resorts and things. So always was around the water. And then I decided to kind of make that my business. And so I transitioned from working for resorts, teaching water skiing, to owning and operating a water ski retail store. We actually ended up with about 3 of them, close proximity, but different cities, but only about an hour apart. So for a lot of years, I was in the water ski and boating industries.
So definitely sounds that you went after what you loved, and that is so powerful, because so many people end up in careers that they hate, and then they're looking to transition out. And versus you knew exactly what you wanted from the beginning and you went after it. That is so powerful. So as you continued through the retail stores, and having retail stores is a very time tedious and laborious job, because you have to be present. So how did you find life-work balance while you were running 3 retail stores?
Look, in the early days, it was very much like that, Divya. As you mentioned, it's like you do everything. You're the shop assistant. You're doing all the ordering, the books at night, everything. And that was now. I think the lucky thing for me was I kind of knew that and expected that, because I'd had that indoctrination through my parents' businesses, so I understood it. But I also understood that wasn't a long-term game, that I wasn't going to be able to do that for an extended period of time. Even though I was young, I was only 24, I had lots of energy back then. But I always built it where I was going to obviously build a team and have other people, working with me and helping me through that. And eventually actually ended up with a business partner. And so he ran certain parts of the business. I ran certain parts of the business, and then we had managers that ran each store. So not straight away, but I did get to a point where, it didn't require me to be there in the store every day.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so it was, I think lucky that I'd had that experience as a younger child in my parents' businesses, to know fully that the faster that I could get to that point, the better life would be. So I always had a mission from day one that I was going to build the business with that in mind. I never wanted to be a solo operator, just doing everything myself, because that's hard work, as you said, and it's not great for families or anything. So I'm happy to say I was very successful in being able to do that.
Absolutely. And I so agree with you that, because especially for myself, after having transitioned out from a corporate job I missed having that camaraderie, having people around. And that allowed me to build my team. And it's always so much better when you're doing things that you play at and sharing things with people who play at what you would struggle with or what you may not know of. So as you continued growing and as you started farming out, bringing in more people on your team, what got you into the LinkedIn business?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I kind of, this journey with the retail stores was over about 13 years. And I kind of got to a point that I didn't love it as much 13 years later as I did when I first started. I had a young family and, all those things, the normal life transitions that happen. And part of the journey, we started because it was a related business. It's importing some boats from the United States that were like water ski, wakeboard specific boats. And so then I transitioned out of the retail into manufacturing. And so I sold the retail stores and I set up a licensing agreement with this US-based company to manufacture their boats in Australia. And then I did that for about 10 years. And then it's the same thing. I kind of got to the point where I wasn't loving it anymore. I had some partners in that business. I sold my shares in the business to the partners. And funnily enough, my wife was having our fifth child, actually. And I'd never really because I was so busy with business in the earlier days, never really kind of got that day-to-day interaction with our other children. And so I decided to take 6 months off. And I was going to be there for the last few months that Julie was pregnant, and the first few months when Tyler, who was our little one back then's name was. But in that 6 months, I got quite not bored of like doing the family stuff, but missed obviously having that business sort of interaction. And by chance, I met some people who had a really good business, but were having some challenges. And they asked me if I'd come in and help them out with it for a while. And so I had the first time, in 30 years, I had actually had a job. And it was through that, running that business for someone else for a few years, that I got introduced into social media and we were looking at what other businesses in the same space were doing well. Turned out to be they were good early adopters of social media. But just the more and more I got into LinkedIn, the more it resonated with me as opposed, I had nothing, I had no problem with other social media platforms, but LinkedIn just really made sense to me from a business perspective more than a social perspective. And I just got, more and more immersed in it. And after, a number of years of running someone else's business, I was like, it's really time to get back into my own business because that's really what my background was. And so I started just doing some consulting, almost like a side hustle, helping other businesses with LinkedIn. And it was just me, and I had a virtual assistant based in the Philippines, and I was still running this other business, and it kind of just kept growing and growing to a point where I couldn't really do both at the same time anymore. And I had to make the decision whether I was going to go full on into, this LinkedIn consulting sort of business or run someone else's business. And it was a pretty easy decision, to be honest. It was, go back into my own business. And, here we are 7 years later, and now we have a team of about 20 people all over the world and clients all over the world, and we're one of the biggest LinkedIn agencies in the world now.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations on achieving success at multiple businesses. And that opens up doors for a lot of entrepreneurs who may just be starting out. So let's look from an entrepreneur's perspective. I'm starting out. My clients are on LinkedIn. So from just a general perspective, from their profile, if you could give us tips as to what could they do with it so that they could attract their ideal clients.
Sure. And there's really, it's kind of like a 4-step process, Divya. And the first part, you've just pretty much nailed it, is around your profile. So one, of course, it's got to look really professional. It's also got to be very relevant to what you're doing right now. one of the mistakes I see often is people kind of use their LinkedIn profile almost like a job resume. And now, if you are looking for a job, then clearly that makes sense. But if you're looking to use your profile as a business owner or looking for it to, for lead generation purposes, then you've got to optimize your profile very differently. So, you can go on my profile now and you'll see nothing about, the boating industry or, the hotel and restaurant industries and this other business, which was actually organic skincare, believe it or not. There's nothing on there about any of those things. It's only the only thing. It's the 100%. My profile's all optimized around what we're doing right now. And the main thing, Divya, is, again, big mistake that gets made is people make their profile all about them. What it should be about is their client, or how they help their clients. So again, if you look at my profile, you'll see it talks about the outcomes people get when they work with us, and free resources that they can sort of get into, so that we can kind of deepen that relationship. And that's, again, like mistake number 3, and I'm sure you've seen this yourself. Is, people think, I'm going to just connect with these people because, they're my ideal potential clients, which is fine to do, by the way. However, what's not cool to do is connect with them and then immediately say, hey, can we jump on a call, or can I, send you a proposal, or any of these things. And I'm sure, I'm sure you've had that happen to you as well. And I'm equally sure, without asking you, that 99 out of 100 times you just deleted that message, or at least ignored it, without taking any further step. And so, really, if I could portray the most important thing for anybody is make sure, one, your profile looks professional. It talks all about the outcomes that your clients get if they work with you, and you use that to just develop a relationship. Just get some content created, like you do. Like your content's amazing on LinkedIn, and it's perfect. It's because it's giving people an insight into what it's like working with you and who you are. And it's through that content that people really get to know what we call know, like, and trust. And so that's really how the strategy has to work. Is that's part 3. So part 1 is profile. Part 2 is connecting with the right type of people. Part 3 is sharing great content that's not real salesy. It's just positioning you as that sort of thought leader, I suppose, is one of a term within your industry. And only then can you start to sort of, get people interested in what you do. Now, interestingly enough, if you do that stuff, quite often people will just start coming to you. You don't even have to be selling. They'll come, they know who you are, they know what you're all about. They know you have a solution to a problem that they have. And every week we have people just literally reaching out to us on LinkedIn saying, hey, can we have a chat about, how your services work and things like that. Now, of course, we don't just rely on that. We also then develop strategies that take people off LinkedIn and into a conversation, but where they're willingly wanting to do that. And that's the final piece of the puzzle, is to be able to consistently implement those sort of strategies where you're developing people who are quite willing to have a chat with you. Now, that could be in the form of they're attending a webinar you're running, or like a workshop, or that they're downloading a free resource that you're able to share, like you were talking about with your books. Now, you may not give your books away free, but you might have some sort of an assessment or something off the back of the book that people can download. So essentially what you want to be doing is moving people willingly off LinkedIn into your database, and then nurturing them through reasonably consistent emails. What do I mean by reasonably consistent? Maybe 1-2 maximum a week at the most. And then at the right times, inviting them to these next steps with you. And it's there that you really sort of do your sales pitch. So on your webinar or your event, or whatever it is. And again, every different business is going to have a different strategy that works for them. It could, at that point, be inviting them to a strategy session, or whatever that next step looks like, which will vary for every single business.
Absolutely. And I really resonated with what you said is that you just can't reach out to somebody and send them this proposal like, hey, can we get on a call? And you're absolutely right. I get that at least 3 to 4. It's amazing that right smack in the first connection, they are sharing with you, hop on a call with us, and this is what we are going to show you. And now I'm not even accepting their connection request. So I want to touch upon something that you mentioned earlier is about sharing the outcomes. So there are so many entrepreneurs and people feel sleazy about selling and they don't want to share, how they can help people. So how can they get over that mindset? And so let's address that piece first.
Yeah, and it's a very real thing. It's even got a name. It's called imposter syndrome. And I think we've all, if you've been in business long enough, we've all experienced it at some point, even me. And yeah, it's. I think, look, the best. I can only share how I dealt with it, Divya, and that was that I did some training courses around, being sort of. I'm going to use the term social media influencer, but that's definitely not the way I look at myself. What I mean by that was I did some courses around how to feel comfortable being very visible online, and what things I had to look out for and be careful of in that world. And it was always very much in these courses brought up right in your face, so to speak, of imposter syndrome is a real thing. It's really limiting for business owners because we don't like to sell. We're not comfortable on video. We're not comfortable on whatever it is. And look, you really the best advice I can give is just work out how it works for you to get over that. And I'll share quickly that when I first started doing this, I had this real crazy blockage around doing videos. I could be on a stage in front of 2,000 people, and as long as I was talking about LinkedIn or something that I knew a lot about, I was quite comfortable to do that. But put a camera in my face, and I just kind of froze up. I couldn't do it. And so then what I did was I knew that it was like a real problem. If I didn't get past this, it was going to be very difficult to build this business, in the way that we have. And so I reached out and found a video coach, and I said, "Hey, got this problem," and I worked with her for a couple of months. And but the best advice she gave me, I'd love to share this with your audience, is she said, "Look, don't worry about perfection. Just do it. Just start. People will forgive you making mistakes because you're being very genuine and real, and you're just being you. So don't worry about it, and you'll improve over time." And now, if I shared the very first video, and I still have them with you, Divya, compared to what you see now, it's completely different. And of course, I'm completely comfortable now. There's, I've I don't know, lost count of how many videos I've done now, but it'd have to be kind of 400 or more. So yeah, I think the key thing is don't worry about perfection. Just get started and improve on the way.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And what you mentioned about building that mindset is seeking out for help. It's important because, especially in today's day and age, there's so much noise that it's important to have the online presence. And one of the things that I usually share is that do story sharing. And when you're sharing your personal story, you're just sharing and you're not selling. And whether it is your story or your client's story or why you went into business. So that's also another one of the other ways you can get over that mindset that, oh, who am I to share? Because always remember, it's a continuum, it's a circle. You may be thinking like, I'm not far too ahead of somebody else, but remember that on that circle, somebody is at a place where you were maybe 2 years back. So there's always somebody going to be ahead of you, somebody at your level, and somebody behind you. So now, okay, the outcomes are there. So can you share with us some strategies, how people can position themselves as thought leaders through sharing outcomes?
Yeah, certainly. So the first thing is exactly as you said, Divya. So like that, the power of storytelling is in multiple ways. So your LinkedIn profile should kind of tell a story. It's like almost like a customer journey. And again, if you go on my profile and you go to the featured section, you'll see everything in my profile talks about getting people to watch this specific video. And it's basically telling the story of what's going to happen when people work with us. And now we know if we can get people to watch that video, they very clearly then understand what the value proposition is of working with us. So explainer videos are very, very powerful. Of course, case studies. Obviously, in the early days, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, isn't it? You've got to get the clients to be able to get the case studies. But always be getting recommendations. If we're talking about LinkedIn, there's a section on your profile down sort of about 2/3 of the way down, you'll see called recommendations. And the more you can get people to talk about their experience of working with you, what's really powerful then, Divya, is it's now no longer you talking about you, it's other people talking about you. Mm-hmm. And that is by far the most powerful tool you can build. I diligently work on doing that all the time. And again, if you go and look at my profile, you see there's over 700 people who've left recommendations where they've attended our events or they've worked with us or all these things, and they're sharing their experience and their stories about working with us. So that's definitely one strategy that everybody should be implementing. And I'm not saying you need to have 700 of them. Honestly, if you can just get one recommendation or review from a client per month, over time, that will just build to a really, really powerful thing. And when people come and look at your profile and they can see that, every month somebody's talking about the value of working with you, it's a massive credibility play that, makes people very comfortable when you do go and ask them to, hey, can we jump on a call, or I'd love you to come to this event, or whatever it is. So that's number one, that absolutely everybody can be doing all the time. Number two is very much, just about that outbound content you're creating. As you said, it can be your story, but you can only share that so many times. So it's got to be a mixture of, things, but you can also make stories out of things that happen, and I'll share with you one of the most viral posts that I did on LinkedIn. And by the way, I don't like to kind of talk people into this concept of viral content. You don't need viral content. You need consistent content that people are seeing all the time. But this particular one, it had like over 500,000 people saw this particular post, and I think over 1,800 people took up the call to action, which I shared. And what it was, I shared the story of somebody that actually literally contacted me on LinkedIn. And I ended up on a call with them and said, look, this is how we do what we do. We're going to get your profile really good. We're going to create this content. We're going to da-da-da. And he said, no, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want you guys to connect with as many people as you possibly can and send them the link to our landing page. So all we want to do is just drive traffic off LinkedIn into our landing page. And so I said, look, really, no, we're not going to do that. Everybody hates people like you on LinkedIn. So my best advice is you should shut your LinkedIn account today and go away. But it's basically what I said. And so I shared the story of that. And at the end of it, I said, this really annoys me when people look to use LinkedIn like this. It can be done so much better. In fact, I wrote the book on it. And this annoys me so much. I'm just anybody who would like a copy of my book, a digital copy, just comment below and I'll share a link for you to download it free. And over 1,800 people did that. Now, of course, we had it on a page where they gave us their email address and whatever, so we're able to move them to our database. But that's just the power of stories. They don't have to always be about you. They can be about your clients. They can be about things that just happen in life. That as long as you can tie it back to it's always got to tie back to some relevance. A big mistake I see all the time, and I'm sure you've seen it, is LinkedIn's not really the place for just personal content. there's other platforms that are very good for that. But LinkedIn, if you're going to create content, make sure it stays kind of in the professional realm. Now, does it get where people post these things about something bad that's happened in their life and they've overcome it and that type of thing? Yes, people resonate with that, but it really doesn't help your business brand. I've seen strategies that suggest that all your content should be like that because that's what gets the most views and interaction. Maybe, but it doesn't get you the right type of interaction with people. So you've got to be consistently creating content that leads back to you as being the professional. You'll see, like on mine, I don't really talk about what I do at the beach when I'm not shooting videos, but of course, I spend heaps of time at the beach. But it's always about how I can help people to just do things better on LinkedIn. So use your version of that. What is it? What is your business about? What's the problem you solve? And give people a lot of information. But there's a term that we use, which is really, if there's one thing you guys take away from what I'm sharing with you today, this is it. It's what we call, make sure your content is framed in the know-how with know-how framework. And what that means is it's got to show that you know how to solve a problem without actually solving the problem. And again, too often I see people sharing content where they go, hey, there's this problem and here's how you fix it. The problem with that, people will love you for it because you're sharing all this great content that's solving their problems. They no longer need you. They don't need to jump on a call with you. They don't need to work with you because you're giving it away free. And again, I know there's lots of concepts around that says, give away all your IP for free, and people will resonate with you in different ways. Each their own. My personal belief is that you can solve little problems. Like you'll see, often on my posts, I'll say, hey, if you're looking for how you block someone on LinkedIn, this is how you do it. Now that's really not the type of things that we cover in our programs. So it's just helpful for people to know that information. So that's the thing. Share information that people find helpful and beneficial. Show that you are the authority in what you do, but don't solve their problems.
And that's so few things that you said just kind of popped out at me is that share stories that are relevant. And that makes perfect sense because I have seen, and I've made the mistake too, and I've learned with mistakes, and you share a story and it doesn't tie back to your work. So for example, just a few weeks back, I had taken a few flights and had gone overseas. So I saw this star and it was not twinkling. And so what I did was, because I teach mindfulness, I tied it back. So I did share the story, as you mentioned, something that has happened in your life, but tied back to what you're teaching. So help people. And the second thing that resonated with me is that solve the problem, provide value, and yet don't give away the full solution, because then, and that goes back to one of the stories of one of my clients. He did a speaking engagement and everybody just loved him. Everybody came and said that, oh, your talk was phenomenal. But he did not get a single client, whereas there were a few other speakers who got a ton of clients. And it was just for that very reason, because he had given away the full solution. So people didn't need him. People loved him, but didn't need him. So it definitely makes sense that, help out, but don't give away the full form.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yes. No, these are very, very powerful strategies that you have talked about. So we've talked about that. You have talked about the content. Now share with us, so many times people have a lot of different free giveaways, and you mentioned about explainer videos. Out of everything, what kind of freebies or what kind of things people can offer that will attract the clients more? Because let's face it, there used to be a whole lot of noise even 3 or 4 years back. And since pandemic, it's almost like there's been so much so much noise that it's very hard to rise above that sea of noise. So what can people offer that will bring people back to them?
Yeah, it's a great question. And and I'll share with you the number one thing that is working the most for our clients. And for us, by the way, so much so that now that we've actually built this into our program where we help our clients to create them, is things like assessments, or you might call them scorecards, or they have a few different names, but essentially they're where people could go in and answer some easy questions where they're all like tick box answers, A, B, C, D option type thing. That one gives you a lot of insight into that client, but also gives that potential person, some understanding of, where they are at in their journey around, of course, where the solution to that, any sort of shortfalls they have is to come to you. So assessments is right now is one of our most powerful strategies, because it does those two things. It gives you insight into that person, gives them insights into why they should be talking to you afterwards. And then, of course, you can go through the assessment and pick out the part. So, I could say, oh, hey, Divya, I saw on the assessment you answered this question with X. And we have a solution for that. Would you like to just jump on a call and I'll quickly explain it for you? That it opens up a conversation where it's not just a cold outreach. That person has that problem. That you have a solution for it, and of course they know who you are because they've been following you on LinkedIn. They've seen your assessment. They've taken the assessment. They know they have the problem from doing the assessment, and so the likelihood that they're going to jump on that call. Of course, that call has to be still providing value, but it also opens up the conversation towards, well, hey, so just based on that one thing, there's something that you can do straight away to, resolve that. However, what our whole let me just quickly share what our whole program is about, and what the real outcome would be if you implemented everything that we can help you with, and now you're just elegantly into a sales conversation where they're quite open to talking to you about it.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very natural progression. It's an organic way where you transition from them following you, them reaching out to you and getting on a call where you're able to share what's happening and how you can support them. So that's very, very powerful that you shared. Now, let's say, people build the scorecards, they bring them on, and now a lot of people don't like bringing people back into the database, which is CRM system, or having customer relationship management system like, Constant Contact, Active Campaign. There can be so many different kinds. So is there another way where people can bring people back into their system without having to go through all the automation and other things?
Well, there is. However, I'm going to preface this by saying that's if you've got a real concern about doing that, that's definitely a blockage in your business that is hindering your business. So my advice, given with great love, is go out and find somebody that can help. There's lots of consultants around that can help you to set up a CRM, Active Campaign, as you mentioned. That's the one we use. It doesn't matter though which one. Like you said, there's lots of them, but just find somebody that can help you to set that up. Look, honestly, you can find so many great people in like the Philippines and India that are Eastern Europe that do amazing work at a fraction of what it would cost to do in like the US or here in Australia, or in say the UK or anything like that. So fix that problem. However, while you're doing that, if you do want to do that, so LinkedIn is a great way where you can be creating those conversations, doing all the things we've just been talking about, and then yes, just reaching out and say, look, based on your answers to this, let's jump on a call so I know I can quickly fix that for you. Or you might run an event. Some description. Now, again, depends on different use cases, different industries, different businesses. What works for one doesn't work for another. But like for us, again, one of our most successful strategies is we run every 10 weeks, we run an event, which is just explaining to people all the things that have changed on LinkedIn in the last 10 weeks. And of course, there's so many things that change. We can fill a whole webinar about it. And so we regularly have like 2,000 people that will register for each of those events. And then of course we're talking to hundreds and hundreds of people en masse, showing them how LinkedIn works well, showing them that we're a real authority in what we do, and then get them to fill out these assessments. And then off the back of the assessments, we have conversations. And literally, off the back of every one of those webinars, we don't sell anything on the webinars. We just talk about how, some of you might want to, work with us. And yes, hey, we'll give you this great little special offer at the moment. But, the first step is just fill out this assessment, and then we'll know whether we can help you or not. And then one of our team will reach out to you and book a time, and you can have a chat and go from there. That's about as sales pitchy as we get on the event. But when you get to talk to a couple of thousand people at a time, you can imagine there's hundreds of them that want to take that next step. So events, if it works for your business like that, and they can be promoted really well on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has what is called the event feature, so you don't have to set up fancy landing pages. You can literally bring that information off LinkedIn into your database. LinkedIn allows you to do it if you do it the right way. But if you don't want to do that, you can still just download the CSV file and interact with those people, or literally just get them to your event and provide. Don't do what your friend did that you said, get on the webinar and solve all their problems, because people will go, yeah, that was the best webinar I've been on for ages, but I don't need to take a next step because you already fixed everything for me. Don't do that. Show them that you know how with know-how. Show them what the problems are, get them thinking, yes, I actually have that problem, and give them a pathway to then, come off LinkedIn and into a conversation with you.
Absolutely. That's really, really powerful what you have shared. Now, the next question comes, as you have probably guessed, is that people want to do events, and then how do they have more and more people attending their event? Because that's one thing that I've heard back from so many of my clients, is that they put it out there, they invite people, and yet they don't have as many people showing up.
Yeah, there's a big difference between people, getting people to register your event is step one. Getting them to actually show up is a whole different thing. And industry standard, this is not just from us. This is across lots of people that I know around the world that run webinars and things like that. Is if you can get 30% of the people, so for every 10 people who register, if you can get 3 of them to show up, as a general rule, that's considered good. I don't think it's good, but that's the industry standard. So it is a numbers game. So but however, if you're getting less than 30% show up, there is a problem. They registered, they had interest, but then for some reason they didn't show up. So you got to find what that problem is. And generally what it is that they just get busy. They just forget about it. They've registered, and then this event's a couple of weeks away, and when it comes around, it's not in their calendar. So the point being is you got to have a process to follow up with people once they've registered. And if anyone's ever registered for one of ours, they'll know that we'll send them, obviously as soon as they register, it's integrated into our CRM, and that's why I'm highly suggesting that you get over that issue if you're not using a CRM. Because it allows us to then reach out and say, hey, Divya, great to see you've registered for the event. Here's some more information about it. Here's the Zoom link. Here's a link to put this in your calendar so you don't forget. And then, like a week out, we'll say, hey, Divya, don't forget, we've got the event coming up, and we'll share a case study. Say, look, this is something I'm going to be covering on the event, and here's a case study about someone else that had this problem and how we help them with it. And then 3 days out, we'll do it again. And 24 hours out, we'll do it again. And 1 hour before, won't keep sharing case studies. We'll only do it that 3 times. The others are, don't forget the event's coming up. Keep reminding them what it's about. What's the outcome? That's what they want to know. They're going to go, I want to know what the outcome is if I come to, I'm going to give up an hour of my time on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning or whatever it is. I really want to know what the outcome is. Is it worth my time? That's essentially the question they're asking themselves, even if they've registered initially for your event. So you've got to have this follow-up sequence that keeps reminding them and giving them different sort of use cases of other people that have been to your events before, and what's the outcomes they got. And that's the most powerful thing you can do. And it will rapidly increase the numbers of people. We average around 42 to 44% of all people that register that show up to the event, which is well above industry standard. And we also get another around, I think it's 27 to 30% of people that watch the recording when we send it to them within 72 hours. So we're really getting to like 75% of the people who register who actually get in. And what I mean by watch the recording, we know through the tracking and everything that's embedded in all videos now, if they watched it till the end. So we're saying, we know these people watched it right to the end, and that's if you can kind of get your numbers up that way to around that 75% mark, then then the numbers really start to add up.
Well, congratulations, Adam. And that tells me two things. As you mentioned, is one, you're reminding people till the end, because people have become busy and people's attention span has gone down tremendously, actually less than that of a goldfish. And also you're solving a problem that people are looking for. So these are the two areas to look for. And I really appreciate it. And I really thank you for being so generous with your knowledge and sharing it out. Now, where can people find you? And if they wanted to reach you, know more about your programs and anything that you offer, please share the information.
So do two easy ways. LinkedIn, really, really easy. Just type in my name, Adam Houlihan, on LinkedIn, and you'll find me there. Or our website, which is Prominence Global, and it's just prominence.global is the URL for the website. And from there, you can link through to these explainer videos, all the free resources we have, and of course, all the information about our products or services. There's even a live chat on there. You can just go, hey, look, this is what I'm looking for, and it'll help you out.
Any parting thoughts?
I think that the key thing, again, I've shared a couple of little things where I said, these are key takeaways. And I think my last one is just simply about consistency and persistence. You're building a personal brand, which is really what we're talking about on LinkedIn. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to stick at it. It takes a bit of time. So just make sure you have a bit of a content schedule. You're planning things in advance. You're scheduling out in your calendar, for you or someone on your team to be doing some work on there every day, and just stick with it and keep learning, and or reach out to people that know what they're doing, like us, and get them to help you. And guarantee if you persist at it long enough, you will definitely get good outcomes.
Well, some great nuggets. I know I learned a lot. So thank you for joining us.
My absolute pleasure.
And listeners, without you, the show would not be possible. So thank you for being in our family, and let us know, how can we support you? How can we make your lives better? And we will bring you the experts that will support you to live the lifestyle that you deserve and want. And thank you, Juan, for making this show technically possible. And until next time, be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.